A little boy points directly at a police officer during a tense court hearing. What he says next leaves everyone speechless. The courtroom buzzed with restless murmurs as the heavy wooden doors swung open. Officer Dean Brooks strode in with a commanding presence, his tall frame casting a long shadow across the polished floor. His face was stern, eyes sharp, scanning the crowded room like a hawk sizing up its prey. 12-year-old Noah Carter sat rigidly in his seat near the front, gripping his mother's hand so tightly his knuckles turned white. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest like a drum, loud, steady, unyielding. This was the moment they had all been waiting for, the trial that could finally uncover the truth about what had happened during last year's protest. The air was thick with tension. Every gaze in the room seemed fixed on Officer Brooks, whose reputation as a strict enforcer preceded him. Some whispered he was a hero maintaining order. Others claimed his methods had crossed unforgivable lines. Noah knew the truth was tangled somewhere in between. His father, James Carter, a respected community organizer and a man loved by many in Everfield, had accused Brooks of excessive force that night, a force that left James injured and the town bitterly divided. Noah's goal was clear. He wanted the truth to come to light, no matter the cost. Judge Harold Benson took his seat, his expression unreadable, though his connection to Officer Brooks was common knowledge. That friendship complicated everything. Noah's gaze flickered between the judge and the officer, sensing the invisible lines of loyalty and influence that wove through the courtroom like unseen chains. The police officers seated behind Brooks exchanged confident nods, their posture defensive, as if daring anyone to challenge their comrade. The prosecutor rose with a determined air, her voice steady but passionate as she laid out the story. On the evening of the protest, Mr. James Carter was peacefully demonstrating for community rights. However, Officer Dean Brooks responded with excessive force, unnecessarily escalating the situation and causing serious injuries to Mr. Carter. Her eyes swept the room, settling briefly on Noah before moving on. "We are here to seek justice." Brooks stood, his voice low but firm. "I acted within the scope of my duty. The protest was chaotic and dangerous. My actions were necessary to maintain order and protect citizens." His words were met with a mixture of nods and skeptical glances. The defense called witnesses who painted the protest as violent and uncontrollable, justifying Brooks' actions. Each testimony chipped away at the image of peaceful protest, pushing the narrative that force was inevitable. Noah's stomach twisted as he listened. He could almost see the protest flash before his eyes, the shouting, the chaos, the moment when his father was shoved and fell hard against the pavement. But he also remembered the quiet moments afterward, when his father spoke of unfair treatment and broken promises. There was more to this story, hidden truths no one wanted to face. Then came the recess. The courtroom emptied slowly, voices lowering to hushed tones. Noah's eyes caught movement near the entrance. Officer Brooks was speaking in urgent whispers to a tall man in a dark suit. The man nodded quickly, his eyes darting around nervously. Brooks' jaw tightened as he glanced back toward the courtroom, as if checking to ensure no one was watching. Something didn't sit right with Noah. The tension in Brooks' posture, the secretive tone, these were the clues that sparked a flicker of determination inside the boy's chest. Noah's mind raced with questions. What were they hiding? Why was Brooks so anxious? Was there a web of lies spun far beyond this courtroom? He clenched his mother's hand a little harder, the weight of responsibility settling on his small shoulders. At 12, he was just a boy, but he felt the stirring of courage, a quiet, stubborn fire ready to grow. As the crowd prepared to return to their seats, Noah whispered to himself, barely audible over the shifting murmurs, "Sometimes, the smallest voice can shake the strongest silence." Noah couldn't shake the image of Officer Brooks whispering urgently to the man outside the courtroom. The moment replayed in his mind like a silent warning. During the brief recess, while the courtroom emptied, Noah's eyes searched for answers. He approached his father cautiously, lowering his voice to avoid drawing attention. "Dad, who was that man Officer Brooks was talking to, and why did they seem so nervous?" Noah's voice trembled slightly, betraying the worry behind his calm question. James looked down, his face clouded with the weight of unspoken truths. "That man? I don't know him by name, but he's connected to some of the mayor's people, those who want the protest shut down no matter what. Brooks has ties with groups that silence activists like me, Noah. It's why things have been so tense." But proving it, that's the hard part. His eyes met Noah's with a mix of concern and quiet pride. We have to be careful. This isn't just about the courtroom anymore. Noah's heart hammered in his chest, a mix of fear and determination swirling inside him. He couldn't just sit back and wait for adults to solve this. The truth needed to come out, and if no one else would act, he would. Over the next few days, he kept a close watch on Officer Brooks and the police whenever they came near his neighborhood. His eyes darted, searching for anything unusual. Whispers, strange meetings, hidden gestures. The weight of his mission settled on his small shoulders, but he carried it with a quiet resolve. One late evening, the orange glow of street lamps cast long shadows as Noah pedaled his bike past the police station. The air was thick with tension, the hum of distant city life a faint backdrop. Suddenly, voices caught his attention, low, urgent, and unmistakably serious. Noah slowed, crouching behind a parked car. Through a cracked window he spotted Officer Brooks speaking with another officer, their faces grim. "I'm telling you, the mayor expects results. We plant the evidence, fake protest signs, doctored reports. Make sure James looks like a troublemaker," Brooks said, his tone cold and unyielding. The other officer nodded, eyes flickering nervously. Noah's breath caught in his throat. This was the proof they needed, the very act that could expose the lies and corruption. Heart pounding, he raced home under the darkening sky, the cool night air sharp against his face. Bursting through the door, he found Liam in his room, surrounded by gadgets and wires, a determined look on his face. "Liam, I overheard Brooks talking about planting evidence against my dad," Noah said, his voice urgent. "We have to catch them in the act. Can you help me record it?" Liam's eyes lit up with a mix of excitement and gravity. "You know I'm in. We'll set up cameras, microphones, anything we need to prove it. But we have to be smart. If they catch us, things could get dangerous." The boys worked quickly over the next days, hiding small cameras near the police station and gathering any sign of wrongdoing. Every creak, every whispered conversation became a thread in the tapestry of their evidence. Noah felt the weight of their secret mission. Every glance over his shoulder reminded him of the risks they were taking. Then came the moment Noah had been waiting for, the next court session. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation as families and officials filled the benches. Noah sat at the front, nerves and courage battling inside him. When the judge called the court to order, Noah stood, surprising everyone by pointing firmly at Officer Brooks. "You're lying. I know what you're hiding." The room fell into stunned silence. All eyes turned to the boy whose voice cut through the tension like a knife. Judge Benson's eyes narrowed, his voice firm but curious. "Young man, if you're to make such a claim, you must provide proof." Noah swallowed hard, aware that this was the moment that could change everything or backfire terribly. Officer Brooks sneered, trying to mask the flicker of doubt in his eyes. "Empty accusations won't save your father. This is just a child's fantasy." Later that day, Liam revealed what he had captured on the hidden camera. In a small, dimly lit room, the footage showed Officer Brooks instructing officers to tamper with reports and plant false evidence. The chilling words confirmed Noah's worst fears. The system was rigged against them. They stared at the screen, hearts pounding, knowing this was their breakthrough. But the fight was far from over. Officer Brooks wielded power and influence that stretched deep into the community. Rumors flew, and tension simmered as Noah and Liam prepared to bring their evidence to light. They understood the danger. Allies of Brooks might try to silence them or discredit their claims. Still, the boys stood resolute, united by the belief that truth, no matter how small the voice behind it, was a weapon against fear. When courage faces fear, truth becomes a weapon. The courtroom fell into a heavy silence as Noah and Liam stepped forward, the small recording device clutched tightly in Liam's trembling hands. The air was thick with anticipation, every eye fixed on the two boys as they prepared to reveal what could change everything. Judge Harold Benson cleared his throat, adjusting his glasses as he nodded to the prosecution. "You may present the evidence," he said, his voice steady but carrying an unmistakable weight. Noah's heart pounded fiercely in his chest. He glanced briefly at Liam, whose face was pale but resolute. The boys connected silently, a shared courage born from months of fear and determination. Liam pressed play on the device and the courtroom's large screen flickered to life. The footage was grainy but undeniable. Officer Dean Brooks stood in a dimly lit room, his voice low and commanding as he addressed several uniformed officers. Plant those signs on the protesters' belongings, Brooks ordered sharply, eyes glinting with cold calculation. Make sure the reports reflect chaos. We can't have the city thinking this was peaceful. Gasps echoed through the room. The murmurs rose as the video continued, showing Brooks directing the alteration of official documents, instructing officers on how to manipulate statements. The prosecution attorney, a lean man with sharp eyes, leaned forward. Your Honor, this evidence clearly shows a deliberate effort to fabricate facts and discredit peaceful protesters, including Mr. James Carter. We ask for Officer Brooks' immediate suspension pending further investigation. Officer Brooks sat rigidly at the defense table, his face pale but controlled. His lawyer, a seasoned man with a slick demeanor, stood swiftly. Objection, Your Honor, he said, voice ringing through the courtroom. This video is nothing but a doctored fabrication. There is no proof of its authenticity. We demand a forensic analysis before any judgments are made. The judge nodded solemnly. The court will allow expert testimony on the video's validity. The tension tightened like a vice. Experts in the legal and technological fields were summoned, and the courtroom became a battleground of words and technical jargon. Debates flared over the footage's resolution, timestamps, and metadata. To the untrained eye, the proceedings were confusing and drawn out. Noah sat rigid, the weight of every second crushing down on him. His eyes never left Officer Brooks, who now looked visibly shaken. The tough, unyielding officer who had once seemed invincible was beginning to crack. Noah's mind raced with the months of injustice, the fear, and the hope that this moment could finally bring change. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted as the courtroom doors opened wider and a tall, lean man entered. Marcus Fields, Officer Brooks' partner. The room hushed immediately. Marcus's gaze was steady but carried the burden of long-hidden secrets. He approached the stand without hesitation. Marcus Fields, please state your testimony, the judge instructed. Marcus took a deep breath. I was part of the unit under Officer Brooks' command, he began, voice steady but laden with remorse. For months, I covered for him. I kept quiet because I was afraid. But I can't anymore. His eyes flicked toward Brooks, who avoided the gaze. I helped record the footage you just saw. It's real. I was tired of the lies and the cover-ups. Whispers rippled through the crowd, growing louder with every word. Marcus detailed specific instances where Brooks pressured officers to alter facts and intimidate community members. His confession was a blow, an unexpected betrayal that shifted the momentum of the trial dramatically. Officer Brooks's lawyer rose in protest, but the judge silenced him with a firm gesture. This testimony will be considered, but remember, due process must be followed. Outside the courtroom, the energy was electric. The news spread like wildfire, fueling protests and rallies that unified the town of Everfield. People chanted for justice, their voices growing stronger with each passing hour. Back inside, Noah felt a complex mix of relief and anxiety. The battle had reached a turning point, but the path ahead remained uncertain. The law was clear. Evidence alone would not guarantee justice. Brooks' suspension was granted, but the shadows of retaliation and deeper conspiracies still loomed. Noah looked up at his father, who offered a weary but proud smile. The boy understood now more than ever the weight of courage. The responsibility of seeking truth was a heavy burden, especially for one so young. As the courtroom began to empty and the day drew to a close, Noah whispered to himself, even the darkest lies crumble beneath the light of truth. The courtroom's verdict had barely settled when the ripples began to spread through Everfield. Officer Dean Brooks, once a figure of authority and intimidation, was now under formal investigation for misconduct. The police department, shaken by the revelations, publicly pledged to overhaul their practices. New training programs were announced, promising a future where accountability would no longer be a whispered hope but a firm reality. An independent review board was established to oversee complaints, an effort born directly from the courage of one young boy and his family. James Carter, still bearing the marks of that fateful night, was slowly healing both in body and spirit. He spent long hours meeting with city officials, community leaders, and police representatives. His voice, though still carrying a hint of weariness, was resolute. "We need real change," he said in a meeting, his eyes steady with conviction. "Not just promises. The community has waited too long." His words echoed in the room, a powerful call to action that many could not ignore. Noah watched his father from the sidelines, admiration mingling with the heavy weight of their shared struggle. Noah himself had become something unexpected, a beacon of hope in a town desperate for healing. Invitations to speak at local gatherings poured in. In community centers, churches, and schools, Noah's youthful presence commanded attention. He spoke with a quiet strength that belied his age, reminding those around him that standing up was never easy but always necessary. His voice would sometimes waver, but his message never did. "It's not just about me or my family," he told a crowd one evening, the warm glow of the hall's lights framing his determined face. "It's about every person who's been afraid to speak." Yet, beneath this wave of support, a darker undercurrent stirred. Brooks defenders, refusing to accept the tarnishing of his name, began spreading rumors. Whisper campaigns filled the air like poison, aimed at discrediting Noah and James. Anonymous letters arrived at their home, thinly veiled threats scrawled on crumpled paper. One night, Noah found a note slipped under their door, the ink smeared as if written in haste. "Stay quiet, or else." Fear tried to take root in the boy's heart, but when he looked up to Liam, his loyal friend and partner in truth, and saw the steady resolve in his eyes, the fear began to loosen its grip. "We won't back down," Liam said firmly, clenching his jaw. "They can try all they want, but this ends with justice." James nodded, standing behind them both like a wall of protection and pride. The family's unity became their shield against the growing storm. Together, they pressed on, working with community advocates and the new review board to push reforms through City Hall. The police chief, a man named Walter Jennings, addressed the public with a tone both serious and hopeful. "We recognize the failings exposed in this case," he said during a televised press conference, his voice steady but earnest. "These changes are necessary for us to regain the trust we lost. We owe that to Everfield and to its future." Behind him, officers stood silently, some looking uncertain, others resolute. It was a beginning, a fragile promise that things could improve. The town itself seemed to breathe a tentative sigh of relief, yet the scars remained visible. Broken windows in storefronts from the protests, hushed conversations in diners, and lingering glances between neighbors spoke of wounds still raw. Noah often found himself walking the streets in the quiet evenings, his mind heavy with thoughts of what had been and what must come next. One such evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in deep oranges and purples, Noah sat on the worn wooden steps of his porch. The breeze whispered softly through the trees, carrying with it the distant murmur of life in Everfield. His fingers toyed absently with the edge of a torn notebook, a remnant of the countless notes he had taken during the trial. The weight of responsibility pressed down, but it was accompanied by a fragile hope. From behind him, footsteps approached. James Carter appeared in the doorway, his face softened by the fading light but marked with the lines of the ordeal. He settled beside Noah, placing a firm, reassuring hand on the boy's shoulder. "You changed everything," James said quietly, voice thick with emotion and pride. Noah looked up, meeting his father's gaze. In that moment, the boy felt the enormity of their journey, the pain, the fear, the battles won and still to come. A slow smile spread across his face, a mix of relief and determination shining in his eyes. Sometimes, the bravest heart is the one we least expect. Disclaimer: the story you just watched is fictional. It explores themes of justice, innocence, and the power of truth in challenging authority. Its purpose is to raise awareness, provoke thought, and inspire empathy and action toward fairness and accountability.